You ever meet someone who felt like a dream, like they walk into your life and suddenly everything has a soundtrack, texts feel exciting again, your mornings start with a smile because they exist, and it's not just the butterflies, it's the comfort too. You feel safe, understood, seen, and then they leave, not because of something you did wrong, not because you didn't love them hard enough, not because you didn't try, they leave, while still being perfect. And that's the part that haunts you, isn't it? See, if they were toxic, if they were manipulative, selfish, cold, at least you'd have something to push against. You could say they weren't good for me anyway. But when someone's beautiful, kind, loving, thoughtful, and they still walk away, you're left in this weird emotional limbo. How do you move on from someone who didn't actually hurt you, but just couldn't stay? Let me say this. Just because someone was perfect doesn't mean they were perfect for your life. They were perfect for the season they came in, they were perfect for the lesson you needed, they were perfect in what they awakened in you, but sometimes even perfect things are not meant to stay. We've been taught to believe that love should last, that real love stays, that when someone is right for you, they fight for you, and a lot of the time that's true. But here's a truth we're not often told. Timing can be the villain in a beautiful story. Someone can love you deeply, but not be ready. Someone can adore you, but be on a different path. Someone can want to stay, and still walk away because they know they can't give you what you deserve. And it sucks, let's not sugarcoat it. It's frustrating because you're not just grieving a person. You're grieving what could have been. You replay the good parts like highlight reels in your head. That one night they looked at you like you were the only person on earth. The way they remembered the small things about you, how they made you feel like home, and you think, how do I ever feel that again with someone else? Let me tell you something, what you felt was real. But it wasn't the last time you'll feel it. You think they were the rare one, but what if they were just the first to show you what's possible? That feeling you had, that was you too. That version of you that opened up. That dared to trust again, that loved without holding back, that's still in you, and you will bring that energy into something better, something right, because now you know your capacity to love. And you also now know that love alone is not always enough. It takes timing, it takes alignment, it takes two people being in the same chapter, not just the same book. They were perfect, yes, but they weren't the person meant to walk with you all the way. And that's okay, let them go in peace, let the memories be soft. You don't need to resent them to move on, you don't need to rewrite the story to heal, you just need to tell yourself the truth. They came, they gave, they left, and now you keep going. You don't stop living because someone else's chapter ended. You don't put your heart on lockdown just because someone didn't stay. Do you know what's stronger than getting the love you want? Learning how to keep your heart open even when you don't get it. You are not someone who only gets one chance at love. You are not someone who's hard to love. You're not someone who lost out. You're someone who experienced something rare and now has space for something real. So when you miss them, remember this, you didn't lose something. You just discovered what you truly need, and one day someone will come along. And they won't just be perfect, they'll be present. They'll choose you every single day. And they'll stay until then. Don't look back with regret. Look back with gratitude, because even the best people sometimes aren't your people, and letting go of someone good is what makes space for someone great. Sometimes someone walks into your life and feels like everything you've ever wanted. They bring peace, they bring chemistry, they bring connection, and in those moments you can't help but believe this is it. You imagine a future with them. You start making decisions with them in mind. You begin to loosen your grip on fear because they make you feel safe enough to love fully again, but then, without warning, or even sometimes with too much explanation, they leave. Not in a storm, not in a fire, just a quiet, painful exit that leaves you wondering if the whole thing was ever real, and that's where the true hurt lies, because if they were cold, cruel, or careless, you'd have a reason to move on. But when they're kind, emotionally intelligent, respectful, and even still loving, you don't know where to place the pain. It feels unjust, like your heart is breaking not because someone broke it, but because life simply didn't align. That's one of the hardest things to accept. Sometimes people are not wrong for you. They're just not right for your life. Their presence was powerful, but it was meant to be temporary. And you can't turn temporary people into permanent fixtures, no matter how beautiful they are. Their love may have been real, their intentions may have been good, but intention alone doesn't build a future, and recognizing that is what saves you from trying to rewrite a story that was always meant to be short. Then comes the lesson no one really prepares us for, that love alone isn't enough. We grow up hearing that if two people love each other, they'll make it work. But in the real world, that's just not always the case. Love needs structure, it needs commitment, it needs timing. Two people can love each other deeply and still not be able to meet each other's needs. That's not failure, that's just reality. We don't fall apart because we didn't love well. Sometimes we fall apart because our paths were always meant to diverge, and that realization can feel brutal, but it also gives us clarity, because if you can love someone deeply and still know when to walk away or let them go, you're not weak. You're wise. You're not someone who gave up. You're someone who grew up, and here's the gift you're left with, even in the hurt. Now you know what it's supposed to feel like, the way your heart opened in their presence, the way you let yourself be vulnerable, the way you chose to love bravely. That version of you wasn't just created by them. That version was revealed by them. And now that it's been unlocked, you don't have to put it away. You get to take that person with you, the one who knows how to love without fear, the one who now has a clearer idea of what they want and, more importantly, what they need. You're not less than because someone didn't stay. You're more self-aware, more resilient, more ready. Because when the next person shows up, the one who's not just perfect in the moment, but perfect in timing, in intention, and in consistency, you'll be able to meet them as the person who already knows their worth. Sometimes what makes it hardest to let go is the belief that we shouldn't have to, because everything felt right, didn't it? You weren't chasing someone emotionally unavailable, you weren't playing games. You weren't dealing with hot and cold behavior or guessing their intentions every other day. They showed up. They connected with you in a way that felt rare. They made you laugh in the middle of your worst days. They said things that made you feel seen, and they touched places in your heart you forgot were even alive. So when they leave, it doesn't just feel like a breakup. It feels like betrayal by life itself. Like you were finally given something safe, and it was taken away with no warning. That's the pain we don't talk about enough, the pain of something being right and still not working, and when that happens, your mind starts spiraling into all the shoulds. They should have stayed. This should have worked. We should have figured it out, and worst of all, you start believing, I should have been enough to make them stay. That last one, that's where the real heartbreak begins, because now it's not just grief over losing someone, it's doubt creeping into your identity. You start picking yourself apart. Was I too much? Was I not enough? Was it me? But the thing is, it wasn't. They didn't leave because you lacked something. They left because of where they were emotionally. They left because they didn't have the capacity to grow in the direction you were headed. They left because love, no matter how deep, sometimes isn't sustainable without inner readiness. Think about this. You can hand someone the most beautiful gift in the world, and if they don't know how to value it, they'll walk away. Not because the gift was flawed, but because they weren't ready to receive it. That's you. You were the gift. You were ready to love in a way they couldn't match. You showed up emotionally present. You brought depth, vulnerability, honesty. And when someone walks away from that, it's not because they saw too much. It's because they weren't equipped to meet you at that level, and this is hard to accept, because deep down we carry this old narrative that says, if I'm good enough, they'll stay. But here's the truth, their staying is not proof of your worth. And their leaving is not proof of your failure. People don't leave because you're unworthy. They leave because they're unsure. They leave because they're scared. They leave because they haven't done the emotional work to sustain what you offer. And yes, maybe they did love you, but love without maturity is like fire without fuel. It burns bright, but quickly dies out. So what do we do with this pain? What do we do when someone we believed in deeply chooses to walk away? We stop chasing closure from them and start giving clarity to ourselves, because if you keep holding out for answers from them, you stay stuck in emotional debt. You stay waiting for them to say, "It wasn't you, you were amazing, I just wasn't ready." But you don't need that validation. You already know it deep down, you just don't want to accept it because it doesn't make the pain disappear, and that's okay, because healing isn't about deleting pain, it's about holding pain with truth, so it doesn't destroy your sense of self. You see, healing starts when you stop trying to win back someone and start winning back yourself. You stop obsessing over what you could have done differently and start remembering who you were before they came into your life. You begin to reclaim your self-worth, not through their approval, but through your own inner certainty that you showed up with real love, that you were ready, that you were brave enough to give your heart. And that's never something to regret. So next time that wave hits, when you miss them, when you question everything, pause and say this: I didn't lose them. They lost someone who was emotionally available, kind, present, and real. They lost me, and I'm a hard person to replace. That's not ego. That's truth, because someone out there will meet you in your readiness. Someone out there is praying for the exact kind of love you offer. But they won't find you if you're stuck trying to be enough for someone who was never meant to stay. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone who couldn't see it. Let their exit be your clarity. Let it remind you that love, real, lasting, grounded love, is a two-way street, and you deserve someone who doesn't just love you. You deserve someone who's ready to build with you, so let them go, not because they were a mistake, but because you finally understand. You don't have to hold on to someone to honor what they meant to you. You can love them for what they brought and still walk away with your dignity intact. That's not weakness, that's power, that's healing. That's the kind of emotional strength most people spend their whole lives trying to find. And now, you've found it in yourself. One of the most dangerous things our minds do after someone leaves is romanticize them, not immediately at first. It's raw pain, the silence feels sharp, the absence feels loud. But over time, as your brain searches for comfort in the chaos, it does what it knows best. It starts to replay the highlight reel. You remember how their laugh felt like music. You remember the way they looked at you that night in the car. You remember how they stayed up late texting you because you couldn't sleep. You remember the way they touched your hand like you were fragile and powerful at the same time, and it becomes a trap. Because the longer you stay in those memories, the more you start to rewrite the truth. You turn the past into a movie that only features the beautiful parts. You cut out the awkward silences, the emotional distance, the doubts they never addressed. You skip over the way they avoided hard conversations. You forget the things you chose not to bring up just to keep the peace. This is what we do when someone leaves us before we're ready. We fall in love with the potential of the connection, not the reality of the relationship. We keep asking, what if we just had more time? What if they were just scared? What if I had been more patient, more understanding? But here's the truth you need to hold on to. The person you're mourning is not the full person, it's the version of them that existed in your mind. And that version was likely shaped more by your hopes than by their actual behavior, more by your longing than by their consistency, more by your potential than by their presence. Now, that's not to say the connection wasn't real. It was, and I would never invalidate that, but sometimes we confuse chemistry with compatibility. We mistake moments of connection for a foundation. We call it love, when in truth it was only ever love in glimpses. And glimpses are not enough. Someone who gives you 10% of their heart consistently, no matter how magical that 10% is, will never be enough to build a life with, and deep down, you felt it, didn't you? You felt the part of you that was holding back, the part that wasn't fully safe, the way your intuition whispered, "This feels amazing now, but I don't know if they'll be here next month." You knew. But your heart was louder than your gut. And so you stayed, and you loved, and you hoped, and now you're here, wondering how to move on from someone who felt like home. But listen closely. A home is not just about how it makes you feel. A home is where you're safe to stay. A home doesn't leave. So what do we do now? First, we stop idealizing the past. We stop putting people on pedestals for moments that didn't lead to lasting commitment. We stop pretending they were perfect when in reality they were inconsistent. We stop calling their hesitation deep thinking when it was actually emotional unavailability. This doesn't mean you need to villainize them. You can still honor the good they brought, but don't let nostalgia blind you to the truth. If they were right for you, they would have stayed. Read that again. If they were right for you, they would have stayed. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to, because love isn't just about chemistry, it's about choice. Every day, people fall in love, but only some people are brave enough to choose love when it gets inconvenient. Only some people are willing to show up on the hard days, to have the uncomfortable conversations, to do the emotional work of sustaining something real. And if they couldn't do that with you, then they weren't your forever. They were your reminder, a reminder of what your heart is capable of, a mirror that showed you the level of emotional depth you desire. But they weren't the one who was meant to stay, and that's okay. Because now you have clarity. Now you know that when you start to miss them, you're probably missing how you felt around them. You're missing the version of you that opened up, the version that believed in love again. The version that felt alive, but that version of you, it's still here. You don't lose it just because they're gone. That came from you. It wasn't something they gave you. It was something they awakened in you. And that's powerful because now you know what to look for. You know that you don't want halfway love. You don't want people who disappear when things get real. You don't want potential. You want presence. You want someone who doesn't just love you when it's easy, but commits to you when it's hard. And if they couldn't do that, then don't waste your energy trying to edit the past to fit your fantasy. Let it be what it was, beautiful. Temporary and over. The longer you stay in denial about what it could have been, the more you delay the life that's waiting for you. So take a breath, grieve the good, mourn the moments, but don't hold onto a dream that required you to forget reality. You are not broken because they left. You are not less because they changed their mind. You are not empty because they couldn't see the full value of what they had. You are growing, and growth is messy. It's uncomfortable, it's lonely at times, but it's also preparation, because one day, someone is going to come into your life and love you fully, not just in the good moments, not just when they feel inspired, but even on the quiet, ordinary, and difficult days. And they won't just show up once. They'll show up again and again and again, because they'll be ready, and the reason you'll recognize them is because you went through this. Because you stopped romanticizing people who weren't meant to stay, because you told yourself the truth, no matter how much it hurt, because you learned that peace isn't found in what if, it's found in what's next. So, no more rewriting the story, no more polishing old memories into a fantasy, no more chasing the echo of someone who left. Let them go with gratitude, let yourself move forward with grace, because what's coming will make you realize why it never worked with them.